Hi everybody, I'm Mike Gasior and this is my September 2009 video commentary. And as you can clearly see over my shoulder, I'm once again bringing you this commentary from the beautiful island of Bermuda. I love it here. I've loved it here for the 20 years I've been coming. And the site behind me is Hamilton Harbor. I apologize for parking my boat right in this shot, but I didn't really know where else to put it. All kidding aside, this month's commentary is probably one of the most serious that I've ever even tried to attempt in the limited format I have here. 4 things I need to talk to you about. Don't get tense. I want to talk to you about the accounting rule that required institutions to mark their assets to market. That's FAS 157, but stay cool. The second thing I want to talk about is under political pressure, how FASB, the Financial Accounting Standards Board, was forced to relax that accounting rule. Number 3, I want to talk about how that enabled all the big banks and a bunch of other institutions to begin to lie. No polite way to say it. That's what they're doing. They're lying about the value of their assets, which makes them look solvent, which makes them look profitable. I am in the process of writing a very serious editorial letter to the editor regarding this, which I hope one of the major newspapers that likes topics like this will publish. And number 4, the silent conspiracy by the Treasury Department, by the Federal Reserve, and by the industry itself to not talk about this. FAS 157. This was the accounting rule that required institutions to mark their investments to market. It requires them to categorize securities 3 ways, and that dictates how the market value is arrived at. The one I want to talk to you about is Category 3. Under FAS 157, if you hold investment for which there is no readily available market value, you are required to calculate mathematically what the value is. That's fine. When the rule was passed, FAS 157, auditors took it quite seriously, as they should. There is no more realistic value for something than what somebody's willing to pay you for it. When all this financial storm began to hit, under political pressure, my number 2 point, politicians leaned on FASB, the Financial Accounting Standards Board, who writes these rules, to lay off, to allow the institutions more flexibility in how they value these Category 3 assets. And just so to improve your language skills, these assets are no longer toxic. They're legacy assets. Doesn't that sound nice? Legacy assets. Anyway, I already said it to you. What institutions are doing very bald-facedly is lying about inflating these market values. And the auditors have gotten the message that they're to leave them alone and lay off. Wasn't it amazing when all these big U.S. institutions were like all insolvent and in big trouble, and then literally overnight, they're all good. They're all liquid, they're all profitable, they're all solvent. It's baloney. And you know damn well what I really wanted to say there. It's crap. I want to say something worse than that, but I'm not. It really is troubling to me. This editorial that I'm writing is going to be simply titled A Wonderful Fiction for that reason. It's wonderful to think that these banks and all these other institutions the crisis is over. But the banks and their management and the other institutions know what I know, that a lot of these assets, these legacy assets that they're lying about the value of, are ultimately going to be worthless or damn close or worth very little. If they were to write them down to the actual market value, they would all be insolvent once again. And don't believe the stuff you hear about there is no market for these products. That is not true. I have hedge fund friend managers all over the world that would be willing to buy these assets at the appropriate price. 7 cents, 10 cents, 15 cents on a dollar. But you know what? The banks can't sell them because they might be able to like push the auditors around and have to make them, the auditors, accept these like fake values. But as soon as they sell any of it and we have a real market value established by an actual transaction, guess what? I'm going to make you write down all the other assets to that value, and you know what then? You're insolvent. So there's this big conspiracy between the big Wall Street firms, between these banks and other institutions to just pretend that there's no market value so we can just make these prices up. But the banks know sooner or later the maturity day is going to come, or some day is going to come, and it's going to be obvious they're not worth a damn. And you know what they're doing? And now I bring in my number 3 and 4 points. The political pressure was the number 3 point that forced the accounting profession to effectively accept these lies. But Treasury, the Federal Reserve, you know what? There's a damn good reason that the Federal Reserve has dropped rates to zero. Because you know what's happening? Banks are borrowing money from the Fed at effectively zero, and they're buying 10-year treasuries. And they're making 3.5%, give or take. And they're saving up their nickels and dimes, and they're trying desperately to build their cash position so when the day comes, when they finally have to recognize the obvious fact that these assets are worthless, that they'll have like a couple of nickels to rub together. So they're just, you remember the term zombie banks in reference to like the Japanese banks. Well, that's exactly what we got now. The politicians wring their hands about these banks took all this government money. Why aren't they lending? They need to jumpstart the economy. They can't lend. They can't. And the reason's simple. They already have a boatload of crappy illiquid assets. If you don't know it, commercial loans usually have a fairly decent lifespan, 5, 7, 10 years. They can't tie their money up like that, man. They're already not liquid already. So they're borrowing short, investing long. It's a very incestuous little arrangement. You notice that the United States is printing all this money and the government's issuing all this debt, and you hear on TV, we're going to have a real inflation problem. Where is it? You know why we don't have any inflation problem? None of that money's making its way into the economy. The Federal Reserve and the Treasury print the money and issue the debt. They lend the money then to the banks. The banks then buy the treasuries. None of that money's making itself into the economy. So there's no inflation. Quite frankly, I actually think the big risk in our economy still remains deflation. So what is my point? My point is this. My friends, I say that very facetiously, I hope you know that. Secretary Geithner, Larry Summers, Benjamin Bernanke, the chairman of the Fed. These are all smart guys, and they know what I'm saying is true. And they're all sitting there with their fingers crossed, hoping the whole industry can limp along, making a nickel and a dime here and there, and that the economy doesn't take another punch in the face. But I'm telling you something. You remember Mike Gasior told you it. If all of a sudden this whole commercial real estate thing starts to unravel, if we get another wave of foreclosures, which, by the way, Mike Gasior is telling you right now you're gonna. That's weird, huh? I never talk in a third person like that. But in 2009, this year, only $17 billion of these Alt-A residential mortgages reset their rates. But in the years 2010 and 2011, $67 billion those 2 years. 4 times what happened this year. And I'll tell you one thing, when those Alt-A mortgages reset their rates, that spells doom for those homeowners. Because when that rate resets, they're never going to be able to afford that mortgage payment in most probability. Never mind a 10% unemployment rate. A whole nother reason people are going to be continuing to fall into foreclosure. And I hate it. I'm on this radio program out of London, which I hope some of you listen to, the Naked Short Club, and the nickname I've acquired there is the Prince of Darkness. That's how they throw it to me. So, what does the Prince of Darkness have to say about this? What's scary about what I'm saying to you as you listen to me is I'm right. I'm backing up my forecast, if you will, my expectation with fact. I'm sorry to be a bummer. At least the view is pretty, even if my words were kind of a bummer. But I will try. I say this many times to try to become more regular with these. And if I manage to get this editorial published somewhere, my friends, you'll be the first to know. I thank you for taking the time to listen to me again. And one of these days, I will come up with a little bit more cheerful news. So you all take care. I'll see you again. I'll try to find some other fabulous locale. So see you on the internet.